Hey everybody, welcome on into the studio. I am Jessica Putnam-Phillips and this is Clay Share Live. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern we come to you live from the studio and we do a really fun tutorial. We show some cool products, give you some great pottery ideas, and more often than not, we have a giveaway as we do tonight. So we are going to be making platters with Dela Design Cutters. And if I have time, we're going to make a little plate. As you might have been following along, you will know that DelaDesignGifts.com has been our sponsor for the whole month long. So we are featuring them the whole month in our live broadcasts. So we're going to make this platter, and we're also going to be giving away a gift certificate to DelaDesignGifts.com for anything on their site. That's going to be a $50 gift certificate. But if you're outside of the US, it's going to be for $70 to help offset shipping. How awesome is that? So that's a really great prize. And I have to thank Debbie Dela Cruz for doing all of this and being the sponsor. Thanks, Debbie. So hi, everyone. Good morning from Australia. Here's one of the finished platters. This is actually the one we're going to go through and do tonight. And it's a really fun one. Yes, I used a Valentine theme texture. You don't have to. You got time to make Valentine's things? This is going to be so cute. And some of us like hearts all year long. So we're going to do this tonight. Howdy from St. Louis. Hi, how is Vermont? Vermont is what you expect in January, like 6 feet of snow and about 20 degrees, right? That's what you expect in Vermont. And that's what you get. And for February and some of March and April and on Mother's Day and, you know, hopefully not June. All right, so we're going to get started and we're going to go through some of the textures that I found. And Debbie is here watching with us, the founder of Dela Design Gifts. And if you have questions about her products, please type them in. She will see it. If she doesn't see it, I will relay it to her and she can answer it. So she's watching along on the ClayShare Facebook page. All right, so I was out, went to town. You know, for me, that's an hour drive. Our town doesn't really have a lot of stuff, so to go anywhere, you got to drive an hour. So we went out. It's a day trip, it's true, but we picked up supplies and we stopped by local hobby store, craft store, and they have got a ton of Valentine's Day things out. In fact, the Valentine's Day things were marked down like 40%, which is great because you can buy them, and even if you think it's too late for this year, put them away for next year. So I picked up this placemat. I love this. This is everything because you push it in the clay and it gives you your texture. You cut out along the edges and it gives you your rim template. You just drape this over a bowl mold. You know my bowl walk mold class, making a drape mold? This and that, and you make giant heart bowls. Same thing with this one right here. Love this heart. I love this one the most, I think. I think it's spectacular. Can do that, but you can also make smaller things, and we'll be using these a little more in prime time next, in the next broadcast. This is the one we're going to use tonight. So it's just a placemat. I think it was $1.99 and then 40% off that. I've already used it. You can see there's some little clay left on the back. And what I love about these felt placemats is they're very affordable, really durable, but they don't stick to clay. They're not plastic. These, they're a little sticky. I did not use cornstarch or any release, but you could, to help them get off the clay, because they do tend to stick, but they're still fabulous. And there's so much you can do with them. You know, if you're not going to make Valentine's stuff, like I said, buy ahead for next year, or if you're looking for other holidays, they had some Christmas stuff left. So pick it up now for next Christmas. It's like 75% off. Best time to buy it, right? So this one right here, placemat, less expensive than the heart shapes, but it's a really fun one. And then I picked up a couple other things. I don't know if we'll have time tonight to do these. If we don't, I'll do some quick little fast videos and put them up for you guys to see. Little wooden hearts that have love on it and some texture. These could be fun for little small plates. We'll see if we can get to these. I don't know. And then a heart paper doily, which is great because you can use it for texture and you can use it as a resist for underglaze or slip. So hopefully we'll get to these too. That's asking a lot though. We only have about 45 minutes. So now One thing I love about Dela Design Gifts, and we talked about that earlier in the month when we did our soap dishes, is that her cutters work amazing with GR pottery forms. So what we're going to use tonight, let me grab it over, is this right here. And it's a 6" by 15" right here. And I think it's one of its oval designs. I think that's what Jeff has it listed as. But this works perfectly with this. And you know, on Debbie's website, on Dela Design Gifts, she lists what cutters work with what forms. So you can just make a list and get the cutter for the form, or the form for the cutter, whichever way you want to do. So I do remember where I got them. I got them at my craft store. I don't name names of craft and hobby stores anymore. There's a lot of politics involved with where people get their things, and some people won't shop at certain places. So I don't mention names anymore, but if you message me, I'll tell you. But almost all of them have them. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. But I do want to share these fabulousness, and I don't know if we'll get to any of these in this broadcast, but in the next broadcast, in prime time, we're going to be making rattles, heart-shaped rattles, using the little cutie from GR Pottery Forms. These are their brand new heart-shaped forms. And then I have this set of 3, and we're going to make some bigger plates. And here's one I made using the heart form and this right here. And so it's like a fun heart-shaped candy dish. Or just a salad plate or a sandwich plate, whatever you want to use it for. But tonight, we're going to use the big oval first. And we'll see what we have time to do. So I better stop talking and start making, right? All right. So I rolled out a slab of clay before we started, maybe 10 minutes ago. It has been sitting on my slab roller. I rolled it to 3/8 of an inch thick. And you just need to make sure that it's long enough for whatever you're going to make. So this right here is what I've got for a cutter. Let me give you a quick measurement on it, and I can tell you the length of this. It's my new tape measure from GR Pottery Forms. I don't know if Jeff sells them, but he sent me one, so I'm pretty psyched. So this is 18, and it looks like it's 18 3/4 on the outside rim. Debbie, you're here. Do we measure from the inside, from the actual cutting space? We do, don't we? So that would be 18 inches. So this is an 18" by, let me get you the side measurement, almost 9. 18 by 9 is what I would say this cutter is. All right, we're going to set this off to the side because we don't need it in our way. And let me grab my clay slab. So if you are going to order the heart forms from Jeff, and I want to tell you a couple things before we go too far along. Jeff is doing a special today and tomorrow. If you order the hearts, you can save 20% off the hearts. They come in this little one by itself as a cutie and the set of 3. I'd buy the set. I think you can get them individually, but it makes much more sense to get the set. They're not stacking, which is not a problem for me, but they could be used as a template, the bigger one for the next one down, like I do. And if we have time, I'll actually show you how to do that. But 20% off if you use the code HEARTS, HEARTS, all caps. And that's how you get 20% off. Just the hearts, though. Little insider info, if you want to get 20% off everything on his site, ClayShareCon is coming up February 23rd through the 27th, and we are going to have a promo with Jeff, and he will have 20% off for everybody watching ClayShareCon at the end of February. So you can get all your GR Pottery Forms then. Debbie has some really great offers on her site. You know, you can check that out to save on her products. If you are a premium member of ClayShare, we've shared that code. We have a special code just for premium members to save 15% off everything on her site. And I will share that code again in the next broadcast, but because this is public, I can't share it here. All right, so back to my slab. When I roll my clay out, I'm just going to pull this camera down so that Instagram folks can see me on the overhead. Okay, so when I roll my clay out, I roll it a little thicker than I'm going to need for what I'm making. Now I like to roll my clay a little thicker for platters anyways. And what I do is I plan to thin it down by smoothing it out, and I plan to thin it down when I add texture. But if I'm not going to be using the slab right away, and since it's winter and I'm running a heater that's blowing air, or if you have a really dry studio, I will sandwich my clay between this big sheet of plastic, and you just fold it all the way up and over, and you can store these. I've stored them for weeks before, and your clay stays nice and supple. And a good question about the heart cutters. Dela Designs does have cutters for the heart forms. Yes, yes she does. I don't have them, they just came out. All right, so to flip this over, I'm grabbing this by the plastic and the clay, flip the whole thing over, just like that. And you can see this is the one, look, here's this arc. Yeah, that's where that came from to begin with. But, so I just need to make sure I have enough clay to make this. And to do so, you just lay your cutter on your slab of clay. So I know I have enough, I'm not worried about that there. Now the other things I like to use with these bigger platters is these stackers. And Jeff has a couple different sizes, and what that does is it gives a nice drape to the side walls, and we'll talk about that when we get there. All right, I got a new thing in the studio. Hold on. Look at this. This fabulous Lazy Susan has handles on the side, and it spins. So I can keep all my tools right here, and when I need what I need, I can just reach over and grab it, and they're all corralled in one space. And I put this in the Clayshare Amazon shop. So if you shop for things on Amazon like I do all the time, you can pick these up. It's Clayshare, it's amazon.com/shop/Clayshare, and we put it in studio equipment, I think? Yeah. All right, so let's smooth out this texture because we're going to add a new texture to it. So we want our texture in here, not the canvas texture. And the clay that I'm using tonight is Laguna B-Mix 5. This is a really lovely mid-range off-white stoneware, and it has no grog or anything in it. It's a porcelainous stoneware, so it can dry a little fast like porcelain tends to do, but it's just a really nice clay to work with if you like porcelainous stonewares. Not everybody does. So if you don't have to use this. Get yourself a clay that's dark and groggy, or maybe like a clay that's sandy. Any clay will work. You know, I'm working with a cone 5 clay, but you could use cone 6. You could use low fire. You're not limited. It's just what you have on hand and what you like to work with. Okay, so we're going to go this way, right? That's where our cutter is going to be cutting. So let's see what we got. Well, as much as I would love to use this heart, is not going to fit, right? Now I could roll it in and peel it up and roll it in again. This one right here has some really fun things happening. Look at this. Look what you'd get for an edge there, and then you flip it over and do it here. Or we can do this one. Now it's your choice. I'm going to let you all pick. I'm going to wait for the responses. Here's the one I made already, and I used this felt mat. So I've already used the felt mat to make one, but I'm going to let you guys choose which texture we use right now. So it can be the heart with roses or the felt mat. I'm going to give everybody a second to decide. The heart, the roses. One more. The roses. Okay, you did it. You got it. Okay, we got it. We're going to do it. All right, so I'm going to put this like this. Now I'm going to do one side, and I'm not going to use a release, and we'll see how it does. And if I need to use a release, I'll grab it. So rolling pin or a pony roller, whatever you've got. And you notice I put this not flat side down. These mats will have two sides. One side has some dimension to it. The other side is flat. So the flat side won't press in as far. So you want to use the bumpier side. Now let's peel it off. Need a little more texture here. I don't know where my pony roller is. They work a little better because this is rolling over a wide area. Sometimes it's nicer to have that concentrated, small rolling. Look at that. Ooh. So y'all know I make rolling pins and I sell them and, you know, have all these designs, but you don't always need fancy things. Simple, sometimes better. Look at this. And I do want this gap of untextured in the middle, because that's a quiet space for the eye to rest. That actually makes what we have for texture more interesting. You know, these are just fundamentals of visual art in any medium. It doesn't have to be clay. But we're using principles that are universal, right? Something for the eye to look at and move across and follow lines, and then a quiet space to rest, and then something else, giving more visual interest. And you can do this with any kind of mat. You know, there's a bunch of floral designs out there right now. There's, you know, like I said, Christmas designs. There's all kinds of things. All right, peeling back this side. Why is that always so satisfying? Oh my gosh, every time. Look at that. Crazy good. So you don't even know it's a heart. So if you're making this, as I am, there's nothing here that's screaming heart to me at all. Not a thing. So if you do this and you're making a platter, you're not really locked into a heart platter. Now, I want to go on an angle. I don't want this to be the center. That'd be boring. So let's angle it a bit. And you could do more on one side if you want, 2/3, you know, the rule of thirds, 2/3 on one side, 1/3 on the other, or maybe like that right there. You notice how I did release the whole thing so that when I cut it, it'll come off easily. I'm just going to line this up. Just like that, and then press straight down into the clay. And then we're going to cut this really lovely scalloped edge. It looks like a river, doesn't it? And with the flowers, yeah, Christine, I agree with you. So it's like roses in a river tumbling down. So many things you can do with a simple placemat. Then we just pop this out. All this clay here that we have, we're going to keep because we're going to use that to make our foot, if you want a foot. I'm just going to set it off to the side. So now we have our shape, and I'm just going to turn it so it's a little easier to work with. And then I like to use my finger and just lightly press in where the inward corners are of things. We sometimes get a little cracking. Anytime you have a sharp point coming in, that can happen. And so I'm just lightly pressing it in. You know, the other thing you can do is if you have plastic and you want to round your edges and soften them, you can use any plastic to just do that now. Now, if I had a smaller cutter, like a cookie cutter, you could use saran wrap or other plastic under the cutter when you cut, but this is too big. So how deep of a platter bowl can you slab make? As deep as you want. There are 0 limitations on that. Yeah, there's no limits on doing those things. You can drape it, I mean, if you have a form big enough, yeah. So we're just going to set this in. And I'm going to get it approximately in the center. That looks pretty good. And then we are going to use a spacer. I've got a couple sizes here. So this one's a 1/2 inch, this one's a 1/4 of an inch. I think I'm going to go with the 1/2 inch and make this a little deeper. So I have the depth of the actual form and the depth of the spacer. So it's a little deeper. Now let me grab my board to flip it out onto. And we just set this here. I'm going to flip the whole thing over like a big sandwich, right? How do you keep the deep, deep cuts Was that before I showed how to do that? Chris, did you see how I did that? So the deep cuts on the edges, those corners, what I did with my finger when I went in and smoothed that out, that will prevent cracking. All right, so you reach up under and you just gently start feeling for the corner, for the edge, and you just slowly pulling it down around the form. I need the tiniest little camera to get in here to show you all exactly what's going on, right? But there it is. Flipped over, and then just gently walk it down. Now if I didn't use the spacer, I would have more of a flared out rim instead of a deep. This is like a deep dish piece that we're working on now. And then we're just going to smooth. You're excited to see what colors I use, so what colors I decide to glaze it. I know. What do you think about my new black copper? That's what I'm sort of leaning towards. So using the red rib, I'm just going to pull it towards the form and up the sides. You know, when I discovered these ribs, these two here from Cheryl Mud Tools, the yellow one and the red one, and any configuration, but just these two, the red is much more flexible than the yellow. They totally changed the way I make pottery. I think I discovered this one back in 2010, so 12 years ago, and then bought this one soon thereafter, because one is not enough, but they're my favorites. So you can see how we're not touching the board with this side, because we're going to have a really deep rim. If you want to have a very wide rim and a shallower platter, you wouldn't use that spacer. All right, let's grab our clay back and we'll make our feet. You don't have to put a foot on this. You know, this plate here that I have, no foot, just flat bottomed. Would you have to cut out sections or just form it? Well, it depends on the shape and how deep it is compared to how wide the bottom is. Yeah, so we're talking again about how big of a piece can you make from a slab. I have made platters that are 26 by 20. So it just depends what you're doing, right? No limits. No limits on what you can do. So there's one foot ring. So I'm just using this foot maker, which is a corn cob holder that's slightly modified. I know Jeff sells them on GR Pottery Forums. I have a free tutorial to teach you how to make one. Me and power tools, yeah, not my strongest suit, but always entertaining, right? All right, so there's our feet, and you notice that's just textured too, but it doesn't matter. That texture won't be a problem in the foot. It won't interfere. How will I keep it from warping? I will show you once we get this one made on the one that I have off to the side. A little bit of a drip going on there. So what I'm using right here is just some slip that I made using magic water. The slip is actually the clay, and then it has soda ash and sodium silicate added to it with water. And that recipe is up on ClayShare Resources, I believe is where we put that one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, under recipes. And you can make this, and what this does is it really helps the two pieces join to each other and really can limit cracking. I did not invent magic water. It's been around for a long time. I just really like to use it. Right, so now we're just going to place our foot ring on here. And then I'm going to show you something fun you can do with your foot ring. Am I pulling upwards? I am pulling upwards with the red rib, because what happens when we press down too much? When we press down, especially on the edge here with these forms, with any form actually, you are thinning that area, and you can thin it so much that it actually will crack on you. And so by pulling upwards, I'm not putting all that stress on the clay, and I'm not thinning it out so much that it is causing the potential for a crack. Yeah, so yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. Pull upwards. And that's how I teach when we make, you know, mostly it's noticeable when we make square and rectangle, hexagon, triangles, you know, the straight-sided pieces. It really shows up more than with something like a platter. But it can happen, so keep that in mind. Everything we do to the clay, every touch, every stress, every pressure we apply, it does affect it, and it can cause cracking. You know, it's always a mystery to solve if you are getting cracking on your pieces, to go back and figure out what you did wrong and how to correct it. And it can take a few times to get it right. So I'm just going to use my finger to smooth this around. And does that magic water work for fired clay? No, it's for fire clay, low fire clay. Yes, low fire clay. Yes, because you're putting soda ash, sodium silicate, and water in with whatever clay you're working with. And some people use it straight. They don't put it in clay at all. They just use it, just the water, and score with that. So yes, it absolutely will work. All right, so we were talking about these inward cuts. So these points right here, sometimes you get cracking when you cut inward, whether you do it with a knife, whether you do it with a cutter. I've never had a problem with this particular cutter cracking on me, so, but I have had with my own cuts that I've done on like cardboard templates and things. So I just take my finger and I just go in and I lightly compress that inward cut, just like that, just like I'm doing here. And that's it. And you'll notice how, see how this is still wiggly? I don't want it super tight to the edge. I don't want it to be so slim. I want it more open and flared out, and that's why I didn't press it up against the side so much. Also, if you were using multiple GR pottery forms that do stack, this helps prevent getting that line. All right, let me show you that cool trick I was talking about a minute ago. So if you want to make it look like a ruffled bottom, but you don't want to cut little tiny bits of clay, you can use a dowel, and it doesn't really matter what size dowel you have on hand. I'm just going to use this one here and roll it in the clay. And I'll show you on the one I have off to the side what that looks like. So it's making little undulations, right? It's also compressing the foot ring really well into the clay in these spots, so we will have no fear of it coming unattached. Now you want, do one on the very end? Yeah, I do. Okay, so once this is made, it's got to set for a little while because it's too wet to flip it over. If we flipped it over right now, it would just collapse on us. So it has to sit. You know, I can cover this with plastic and it can sit overnight, and tomorrow I can flip it over, or I can leave it out uncovered in about 4 or 5 hours, come back to it, and I'll be able to flip it over. So I'm just going to scooch this off to the side, and we'll grab the other one that I have, and we'll work on that. Okay, so here's the one that I made a little earlier with the other form, and I just want to show you the bottom. You see the feet? See those cute little feet we got on there? Little scalloped feet. Now this I made this morning, and so it's really a little, I should not be picking it up. It still needs to dry a little more, but we have a little cleanup work to do on these after you flip it over. So imagine we just flipped that one over that we made. after it's dried for about 4 or so hours. If you flip it over and you notice slumping happening in the center here, put it back on the form and flip it back and let it wait another couple hours. It's not ready. And so we're just going to smooth this over. Now a really great tool is this right here. Basically, it's a mud tool cut in half, and this section is what we're after. And you could cut your own profile out of things. If you have extra tools floating around, you know, you can make these, but we just use that and you just drag it along the edge, and when we go into that inside curve, you just see how we just give it a little twist, motion like that, and that's compressing that edge. So it'll help prevent any cracking that might happen. And you just do that all the way around. Also, this is doing a really nice job of rounding the edge right here. Normally we'll take a sponge, we'll fold it over, and we'll rub it on it a few times back and forth. But this way, you do it like this. I'm trying not to get my arm in the way. But you can see how it rounds it over. You'll get little clay crumbs, just pull them off. They come off very easily. And this is a true leather hard. It's not so dry that when I run this on it, I'm getting dust build up or anything, or cracking or chipping, but it's not so soft that I'm getting mushing. Spencer, you have an L&L kiln arriving tomorrow and you can hardly wait. I wouldn't be able to wait either. It's so exciting. You're going to love your L&L. I have an L&L that's like 48 years old. They're fabulous kilns. And then I have one that I haven't even taken delivery yet of it. Huh? You forgot about the kiln that we can't install yet because I don't have a place for it. All right, and then just, you know, I like to take a sponge and make sure I clean up any edges, clean up any areas that might be sharp with the texture you put in it. Just, you know, feel it. And then that's it. Now, we're talking about drying and warping, and that's a very real issue we have to deal with. And what can happen is as these dry, either the ends can bow up or the center bows up. And what I have found to counteract that, that works really well for me, some of you might not have this problem, but if you do, these right here are called weight bags. Basically, this was the long sleeve of an old shirt of mine. I filled it with scoopable, non-scooping cat litter, just regular cat litter. Anything will do, though. You can use rice, beans, whatever you can think of, sand. The problem I find a lot of times with sand, if it's too fine, it can come through the fabric. But the ends, this one's tied in a knot. This one's just held together by a rubber band. They're not fancy. So if you have old clothes that are past the point of donating, like you've worn them to the point where you really got to get rid of them, make weight bags with them. I know people who will use socks to make weight bags. You can go buy fabric and make weight bags. I have a tutorial on making weight bags. If you need one, you can check that out. So trying to get the size cutter. So this one was, I believe, 18 by, let me measure it. I did mention it already in the beginning. I don't know the size. It's not written on it, so I've got to get my, where'd I put my awesome new tape measure? Did I? No. Oh, it's behind it. Should have, though. Hold on. Yeah, the matte texture is great. Okay, so I'll tell you the size. It is 18 for this cutter long, and the width is 9. So it's an 18 by 9, and the form I used, who remembers from the beginning? It was, go look on Debbie's site, she has it listed. It's 6 by something. 6 by 18 maybe? No, it's gonna be smaller. I would have 6 by 14. It's in the beginning of the video. I don't remember them all by out of the top of my head. All right, so that's this size. What time are we at? Is that 34? We can do, oh, you guys want to do one of these quickly? Yeah? 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 Okay. I was waiting to see if anybody said yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah? Yeah. All right, I gotta go get another piece of clay though, so hold on. I didn't have the clay over there with me. And I gotta get a, nope, I got a board. Hold on. All right, we're gonna quickly do another one, and we're gonna use Dela Design Cutter, the smaller triangle that I use with the spherical triangles, right? This is a spherical triangle cutter, and I will have to measure that too. And we can use the other heart texture, or I've got my cardinals and birches rolling pin, which is what I used on this one. You guys can pick the texture, but I think we should use one of the heart ones because you can't get my rolling pin yet. Actually, we're going to go back into production tomorrow. We'll be making rolling pins again, but it's once we start making, it takes 3 days from the start before any are available. So I think our restock will happen on Saturday for our next one, and there'll be a limited number of pins, and then we'll just keep going, and every few days there'll be restocks. And I'll post that on Clayshare Market on the Facebook page and on the Clayshare Market Instagram page. So follow those for information about the rolling pins. But you guys can pick. We can do the hearts, although we're going to use hearts in prime time. Or we can use. People want cardinals and yeah. Well, how can you not? It's spectacular. It's maybe my favorite one. Many of you, my premium members of Clayshare, you all know that one of our members sent me this lovely Christmas card, and I know, I'm sure, you know, it's not the most unique Christmas card ever, but I love it. I think it's beautiful, and it's a winter forest of birch trees with cardinals in the trees. So that inspired me to make this rolling pin, which I drew freehand, of the birds. So we're going to go ahead and roll this into clay. And I have found with this one, because the texture is so deep. We cut the texture crazy deep on our pins, but this one is so deep, I can't roll it by the handles because it's so deep it bumps along. So I have to do it like this by the barrel to get the texture to roll without it being like bum. Does that make sense? Look how cute that is though. So that's the shape. And then you pick. This is the hard part. Now I'm going to use one of Jeff's hearts. I know. A heart with a triangle, a spherical triangle? Yes, I am. So this is the smallest of the set of 3 of the hearts. And the triangle size, hold on. Now there is a triangle shape that matches this exactly if you want to stick to the same shape, but I thought it'd be more fun to do it this way. This is 8 inches. So this is 8 inches for the cutter, and the form, I believe this is the 6-inch form. Yes, the 6-inch form. So 8 and 6. All right, so our heart's gonna go like this right here. Yeah. And then you just cut, just like we did. Now I lined it up and didn't make the most use of my space. I could have gone over here more and, you know, but I can use these. Look, these babies, I can do 1, 2, roll texture again, 3, 4. I can get 4 more at least off this slab. So there's plenty more available. All right, peel that off. Put this off to the side. So I didn't release my clay first, but it really was fine. We're going to set this on here. Let me grab a board. So this is something a little different, you know, if you're going to use the heart shapes, but you don't want the heart shaped outside, this is a really fun way to do it. Just line it up. Get another board, flip it over. You love that. You love that pin. I love that pin too, yeah. I'm partial to all birds, so a bird pin was definitely something I'd been planning for a while. Just worked out. You're making 2 dishes along with me, Stacy. That's very exciting. So we're going to use the sponge to just follow that heart shape on the outside. And again, pulling it towards us will help prevent thinning the top. So even with the sponge, I'm pulling the sponge toward me. And you can see that heart shape. Looks like a sheet was draped over it. Sheet of clay. And then just use your finger along the edge to compress. And then we don't have to put a foot on this. We can leave this alone. Do one with, okay, Christine. I'll put that on my list. Yeah, that would be a fun one. So we're not going to put a foot on this because we did on the other one, but you could put a foot on it if you want to. And we're going to flip it over. And this one, you would want to leave it upside down, drying a little longer than I'm doing right now. I just want to show you. And then we take it out, and then I'm just going to adjust the shape a little bit. Now I want to show you. I don't know if you can tell. See how the sides are starting to slump on us? So that's because we flipped it out a little too soon, but I really wanted you to see how sweet this can be and how we've got the heart on the inside, but the outside is a different shape. So think outside the box with things. Don't think just because we're doing a heart shape, you've got to have a heart cutter, although Debbie does have some available. But if you already have something like this or a circle one, you could use a circle. Why not? But we're going to flip this one back over because it's not ready yet. Not ready. Could it be made as a press plate? Yes, it could. But here's the thing, you would have to let the clay sit up longer because it's not dry enough, the sides aren't holding. So in my press plate class, we do that little trick where we take our slab of clay after we've rolled it out and put our texture in it, if you want texture, where we lift the corner up, right? And we see if that stays up. If you lift the corner up and it falls right back down, your slab is not dry enough. Your sides are just going to slump on you. It needs to lift up, and when you let go, it needs to stay here. So that's a little trick I teach you in that class for press plates. But that clay this clay is still very floppy, which is great because I'm going to wedge it back up and I can make another plate. So magic. Here's one done. And so again, like the bigger plate, you know, these can be prone to warping if you don't weigh them down with a weight bag. So you just grab your weight bag. You're going to want a lot of them. I tell you, I have drawers of them in my storage bins. And you just put the weight bag on it, just like this, and then lightly cover the whole thing with plastic and let it be until it's dry. And I do leave the weight bags on until they're completely bone dry. I do not take them off until they are ready to go in the bisque. Things still keep warping as they're drying, you know, so. And that's what I've been doing for years, and I haven't had any issues with the warping since I started doing that. All right, let me grab out the one we're weighing down with the weight bag here. And so, will there be GR pottery forms for Easter? I have no idea. Jeff has not told me. I know he says he was going to do limited amounts of these special or holiday forms. That's not something he's planning to do for every holiday or every theme, but he did do a Christmas one, and I was shocked he did hearts. He sent me a message and was like, hey, I did some hearts. Do you want them to try them? And I was like, yeah, I want to try them. It'd be crazy to say no to try out new forms, right? So, yeah, those, are we on the overhead still? I just show a close-up for everybody. And then all the Instagram folks can see it too. All right, so we can come back to the front. I think, are we ready to do the giveaway? I think we're ready to do the giveaway. All right, so those of you who are interested in the textures I showed, you know, these you can get from your local hobby store, craft store, check them out. I've even heard dollar stores have them. Some people have told me Walmarts sometimes have them, or TJ Maxx's or other stores like that. So look for those there to get these really cool textures. And we didn't have time to go with all the texture, but you know what that means? That means I just have more time to share textures with you on another broadcast. So nobody's losing. It means we get more. But this is the one that we made with a different texture. I will show the one with the roses as I flip it out. And fingers crossed my studio doesn't freeze again and I don't lose it. I will show you through the process where I'll glaze it and everything, and I'll show you how I finish it off and share it in a kiln opening. So that'll happen at some point in the future. So that's the long platter. Again, we're going to weigh it down with our weight bags as it dries until it is bone dry. And then here's our little one drying, and here it is done. Well, drying too, but you know, you get it. Dry enough that we can hold it. All right, so Debbie has been doing this amazing sponsorship for ClayShare this month and giving away these gift certificates, $50 or $70 if you're international, to one lucky winner each week. So we got another winner this week. If you do not win this week, there's next week. And I do believe Debbie might be joining us, and she might be guest demoing and coming on board and doing a demo and maybe showing us some of her studio space next Wednesday. I still have to chat with her and get that straight. So I'm excited for that, and we'll do that from her location, which will be amazing, right? So can you take them inside to dry just to be safe, Amanda? Well, I'll tell you, I did do that. So many of you know our studio froze last week, and I lost weeks worth of work. There was a couple things that were almost bone dry that didn't crack, and I grabbed them, and they are in the house drying on shelves. So I got a few things I was able to save. Thank goodness, but not many. So these pieces here, yeah, because this morning when I came to the studio, although our heater ran all night, my bucket of water had frozen. So it was sitting on the floor. It's cold on the floor, right? So anyhow, thank you though. We'll get through this winter. Next winter we'll have a new studio space. It'll be warmer and have better heating. Right? Okay, so are you guys ready to see who won? Now, I'm just going to give you all the information. If this is the first time watching a ClayShare broadcast and you don't know how you enter to win these giveaways, well, it's really simple. One, you're a premium member of ClayShare, and if you are, you know who you are automatically entered. You don't have to worry about anything. Everybody else can go to clayshare.com, sign up for our email list, and that automatically puts you in our pool of potential winners. And that's how you get put into the drawing. Now, if you unsubscribe from our emails and are not a premium member, you're no longer in the drawings. Premium members, it doesn't matter. We have your information, so you don't have to worry about that. All right. Are you ready to see who won $50, maybe $70 from Dela Design Gifts? What would I get? I would go crazy with shopping. She's got so many cutters that I would just be, especially the new heart ones. I could do damage there. 50 would be the start. Okay, this week's winner of the $50 Dela Design Gifts.com gift certificate is Cynthia Lovold. Cynthia, congratulations, my dear. You have won yourself $50, or if you're outside the US, $70 worth of fun money at Dela Design Gifts. Very exciting. Woohoo! All right, I have to see what everybody's buying. So our previous winners, you guys, I hope you share what you got with your gift certificate. And Cynthia, I hope you share. And Debbie, thank you so much for sponsoring. I know we got another week. Now, premium members do get a special extra discount on Dela Design Gifts, and I'll share that code next. We have sent it out to members in our emails for the last 3 weeks, and we have been posting it in our private group. But I share it again for you guys. Everybody else, Dela Design Gifts has some really great offers that you can still save and, you know, get some great products. So don't worry about that. All right, let's see if there's anything. You don't see Dela Designs where Debbie tells the GR form cutters with their cutters. So Cynthia, let's ask Debbie on that. My understanding is it says on the cutter works with which GR pottery form. But my rule of thumb has always been, and I'll tell you guys right now, so when I buy a GR pottery form, and I usually get that form first, I'll have my form, and then I go 2 inches bigger of whatever Jeff has for his form for my cutter. You could go 3 inches bigger, I guess. When you go 4 inches bigger, you're getting a 2-inch rim, and then things get floppy. And Jeff measures from the widest point at the back. So 2 inches bigger than what Jeff mentions is my rule of thumb. So if I buy an 8-inch round from Jeff, and I want a cutter that's going to work with it from Debbie, I get a, math time, 10. That's right. If you get an 8-inch round, you get a 10-inch cutter, 2 inches bigger. So that's my rule of thumb. I don't know what Debbie's is, but that's mine. So not on all the listings does it say which matches. Okay, so I don't want to put any more stress on Debbie or make her have to do anything. So it doesn't always say, but I'm going to tell everybody right now, this is the rule. You take your GR pottery form and you add 2 inches. You take your Dela Design Cutter, subtract 2 inches. That's how you get each other, right? GR pottery form, add 2 inches, you get your cutter size. You got a cutter, subtract 2 inches, you get your GR pottery form size. That's an approximation, and that's what I use, but it's a good place to start, right? Okay, everybody. I hope you have a fabulous night. We're going to get ready for our next broadcast. That's Clay Share Prime. We're going to be making, you want a preview? I'm going to grab it. I know you guys want to see. I want to share with you, so I'm going to get it. Why not? So we're going to use the heart forms, and we're going to make plates from the heart forms. So here's a heart, actual heart plate, and we're going to use other textures. But the big thing we're making, I don't think you can hear it. It already has the rattles in it, is we're going to be making these heart rattles, which is like a little sculpture. They're like a puffy little shape, and we're going to be making those next. So we're going to make rattles, and then after we get the rattles made, we're going to make a couple plates. All right, everyone. Take care. I will see you all next week. Hopefully Debbie will be joining us for the live portion. If not, you know, I'll come up with something great. Take care, have fun, and make some great pots. Bye, everybody.